Hi Year 9s, this is Miss Bull here, and in this video I'm going to talk you through the first assessment task for Year 9 Media, which is the analysis of a horror trailer and poster. So for this task you are going to choose a horror film, and we have some listed in this document below, and you are going to conduct an analysis on both the poster and the trailer for that film. So you're picking the same film and looking at a promotional poster for that film and a trailer. In this assessment task, we are going to be looking at the kinds of concepts that we have been talking about in these first few weeks of media. So this includes how media texts use symbolic, written and technical codes, how media texts draw upon conventions, and in this particular assessment task, we'll be looking at the trailer and poster form conventions and the horror genre conventions. We'll also be looking at the construction of representations, and finally the effects that these codes and conventions and representations in the trailer and poster have on the audience. So we want to think about how is the audience positioned to feel about what they are seeing and hearing in these trailers and posters. Please remember that you are analysing the trailer and the poster of the film rather than the film itself, so there is no expectation to go and view the full film. In fact, I'd recommend that you pick a film that you have not seen so that you can look at the poster and trailer without being clouded by what you already know about the film. You're focusing on just the poster and trailer alone. Down here, we have a list of horror films that you can go and look at in terms of their trailer and poster. You are more than welcome to go and pick another film as long as it fits in the horror genre and as long as you get the approval of your teacher to go and study that film, the trailer and the poster for that film. So, how to proceed? You'll first access the assignment on Google Classroom titled Film Poster and Trailer Analysis. Step 2, you will select the horror film that you wish to focus on for this task. You'll find the trailer and the poster for this film and paste the image/link into your Google Slides that you are going to fill out for this assessment task. You will then work through those slides and analyse the poster and the trailer, and the slides will give you different prompts to respond to along the way. Step 4, you will look carefully over your work and edit using the rubric to guide you. The rubric is attached below, and I'll go through that in just a second. And then step 5, you will submit this to Google Classroom. So you'll have a number of lessons to work on this task. Your teacher will let you know via Compass when it is due. So make sure that you take your time working through this task. Watch the trailer many times over. Look at the poster, see if you can find anything new each time that you look at it and that you can add to your analysis. So moving on to the rubric. We are assessing you on the following components. So your analysis of form conventions, genre conventions, technical codes, symbolic codes, representation, and media terminology. I'll talk you through each of those components now. So starting with form conventions, at the beginner level, you will identify form conventions of the trailer and poster form. For the next step up, you'll be able to describe to us the way that these form conventions have been used, linking to direct examples from the trailer and the poster. And for the top level of this component, you will analyse how these form conventions have an effect on the audience. So how have form conventions been used in the poster? How have they been used in the trailer? And how are they affecting the audience? So when we think about the effect on the audience, we think about how they are going to think, feel, and act in response to what they are seeing and hearing. Moving on to genre conventions, same as form conventions, first step is to identify those genre conventions. So we're thinking about the horror genre specifically here. So you're identifying horror genre conventions, but also remember that we can have kind of hybrid genres and subgenres, and so you might also identify conventions of, say, the science fiction genre, which might tie into the horror film that you have chosen. So genres can overlap. Step 2 is to describe the way that genre conventions have been used and link to direct examples from that trailer and from that poster. So describing what you are seeing and hearing and then telling us how that is a genre convention. The next step up is to analyse how the genre conventions have the effect on the audience. So again, thinking about how the audience are going to think, feel, respond to what they are seeing and hearing. And at this very top level, we are critically evaluating how genre conventions influence a target audience. So this is where you bring in your evaluation of the effectiveness of these genre conventions in how they are influencing that target audience. And we've called this level VCE because that's quite a high order skill. And if you can achieve that, it shows that you're well on your way to being ready for VCE media if that's something that you choose to do next year. Moving on to technical codes, very similar to those first few criteria. Identifying is the first step, describing and linking to examples is the second step, then analysing and connecting to effect on audience and critically evaluating and thinking about how it influences the audience again. So that's the same for technical codes, also the same for symbolic codes. Just on those ones, just make sure that you are finding not just symbolic codes, that you find some technical ones as well. So make sure that you are ticking off each of these criteria: form and genre conventions, technical and symbolic codes. Moving on to representation. So we want you to identify a media representation. So that might be how a particular character or group of people are represented. It could be how a particular setting is represented. Remember that everything that we see in a media text is a representation. It's not the real thing. So you just need to identify something that's a representation. You then need to tell us how is that representation being constructed using direct examples. You may even tie in some elements of looking at different codes and conventions in describing how that representation has been constructed. The next step is to look at how this construction of the representation influences the audience's perception. So how is a construction of a certain character influencing how we perceive that character? And then top level, once again, is a critical evaluation of that construction. Now, it is important that throughout your written work, you use the correct media terminology. We'll be assessing you on that as well. So if you can use a mix of colloquial and media technical language throughout your work, you'll score 1 mark there. If you can integrate all of that media technical language throughout your work, that will score you 2 marks. If you are unsure of what the technical term for something is, a little Google search can help you along the way there, or ask your teacher what the correct term is. If you have any questions about this task, make sure you get in contact with your teacher via email, and I look forward to reading all your analysis.